All right, what's going on, everybody? So today I'm going to make a video talking about trigger foods. This is a topic that I have had a lot of personal experience with myself personally, and I've had with, um, at this point, thankfully, not too many clients, but I have had with some clients before. So this is just a good opportunity for me to use my experience to kind of share my experiences with trigger foods and how to deal with trigger foods and how to eliminate this problem from happening. So, for those who are unaware, a trigger food is any food that we eat that triggers the urge or the sensation to overeat and binge and go off of our plan. So this is fairly common in first time competitors or first time dieters, we'll say. There may be a time where you get really lean and you get below your body fat's natural set point, in which you eat something that kind of triggers you to continuously eat and eat and eat and eat and binge and kind of derail your progress and go off the plan. And not just go off the plan in a small way, like you really go off the plan, right? Like by eating a lot and a lot of generally crappy foods. So, from my personal experience, trigger foods are caused by your diet lacking variety and lacking flavor, for lack of a better word. So, for example, I don't think that there may be anything necessarily triggering about ice cream or pizza or whatever that trigger food is to that individual specifically. I think the problem is when that person eats that ice cream or that pizza or whatever it is, it's the first time in a considerable amount of time that they've had something that is sweet and or savory or something like that. And so that kind of reintroduction of that flavor into their taste buds kind of triggers an overwhelming sensation to continue to eat to that sensation. So the number one way that I have found to mitigate this problem, and I'll even go as far to say as completely eliminate it in my personal case, is by adding some variety into your diet. And this can be through an off-season setting, or this can even be within your pre-contest setting. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples here. So the main instances that I like to use adding some flavor or adding some variety into your diet would be specifically post-training. So for myself and with a lot of my clients, their post-training meal will be whey and then some sort of a kid's cereal. So to give you an example, one of my favorite combinations that I use with myself personally and I use with a lot of my clients is I would use like a chocolate whey isolate and then Cocoa Krispies cereal post-workout, or wow, that car is really loud. Like a fruity flavored whey protein, like a strawberry whey, and then like Fruity Pebbles post workout. And how we would do that is you would take your whey, whether it's one scoop, scoop and a half, two scoops, whatever your protein allotment is for that meal, and you would mix that protein in like 8 to 10 ounces of water. And then you would obviously have your cereal in a bowl, and you would use the protein shake as the milk for your cereal. So if you're using a chocolate whey with Cocoa Krispies cereal, then you're using a chocolate protein shake as the milk for your chocolate cereal, or a fruity whey with your Fruity Pebbles post workout. For competitors, I tend to use rice based cereals post workout, so I would use something like a Rice Krispies, a Cocoa Krispies, a Fruity Pebbles, Rice Chex, just simply based off of how rice digests for a lot of people And also for a lot of people, their post-workout meal is their largest carbohydrate meal of the day. So like in my case, my post-workout meal right now is about 200 grams of carbohydrates. So that's a really big bowl of cereal. So if I'm going to be eating any one particular carbohydrate in that large of an amount, it has to be able to sit in my stomach right. But if you're a woman, or maybe you're just kind of like a gen pop person who's trying to lose some body fat, and your post-workout carbohydrates are 50 to 100, so they're a little bit smaller, and you have no problems digesting corn or wheat or flour or any of those other things that come in these other cereals, you can use whatever cereal that you want post-workout. I mean, you can use Fruit Loops, you can use Trix. I mean, you can use whatever post-workout. And then another option would be, if you've watched my protein source video, you'll know that I'm a big fan of utilizing Greek yogurt. And so what I like to use with Greek yogurt, because of the casein content, is I like to use that in the final meal of the day. And we kind of titrate back and forth between a 0% fat, 2% fat, or a 5% fat Greek yogurt, depending on where the fat macros and where the calories and everything are for that individual person. And then for the Greek yogurt, we're using the plain Greek yogurt, the stuff that tastes like sour cream, the stuff that really isn't that good, because it's very low in carbs. And then depending on how fat we get it, it can be completely fat-free, or it can have some more fat in it. But then to flavor it, we would use like a flavored stevia drop, or one of my favorite things to use is like Hershey's unsweetened baking cocoa. Um, maybe a teaspoon, like that a little bit of that goes a long way. And then a couple packets of like a stevia or a Splenda, so that you can flavor it. And so that way, every night before bed, I am eating either like a fruity yogurt, or I'm eating like some chocolate pudding. Like when you take that Greek yogurt and you mix unsweetened cocoa in it and then some sweetener, it turns it into like a chocolate pudding. Especially if you get the Faye brand of yogurt, I think that's how you pronounce it. But that Faye yogurt it's whipped instead of strained, so it's very fluffy. So if you get that Faye yogurt and you get some unsweetened cocoa, some sweetener, it's like you're eating a fluffy chocolate pudding every night before bed. And so when I incorporate things like that into my diet and most of my clients' diets, you find that every day that they train, they're getting to eat some sugary cereal and chocolate pudding before bed. And then on every day period, they're eating that chocolate pudding before bed. I generally don't do the sugary cereals on non-training days. But by incorporating those things, these people kind of get into a habit of every day they're eating things that have flavor. They're eating things that are sugary. They're eating things that taste good, that satisfy a sweet tooth, that satisfy their cravings. And so as they start to incorporate these things in every single day, their urge to cheat on their diet and their urge to binge on their diet decreases dramatically. And the thing that's really good about, especially like looking at the Greek yogurt meal, like once we get down to like a 0% Greek yogurt, as we need to pull calories, you can keep that in all the way throughout prep. Like for every cup of yogurt, we're looking at like 25 grams of protein and like 8 grams of carbohydrates, or something like that in each cup of yogurt. Excuse me, for a female, that would be their entire meal, which would be a cup of yogurt. Like I don't care how low your macros are, you can fit 8 grams of carbohydrates from that Greek yogurt into your diet. So that's something that you never have to pull out. So even if your post-workout meal is carb-free and you're not eating any cereal at all, like you're in the dog days of a prep, you can still know every day that you're going to wake up and you're going to get to eat either some chocolate pudding before bed, or you're going to get to eat like some fruity, thick yogurt, right, before bed. So it kind of decreases the urge to cheat and binge on your diet. Now, specifically post-show, I think that the the urges for trigger foods and binge eating are higher because you no longer have the show date in mind that's kind of keeping you stuck to a diet. So I kind of talked about this in my reverse dieting video, where generally up into the day that you're competing for your show, you are being motivated to stick to your diet by the show date in mind. But once the show ends and you no longer have that date holding you down, so to say, keeping you stuck to your diet, and you no longer have the motivation to stick to a low calorie plan, and you have more freedom to eat these trigger foods, that's where things can really become a problem. And I think, again, getting us back as quickly as you can to utilizing the cereal and the yogurt and all of those other things. There are literally tons of diet hacks out there that you can use to satisfy sweet tooths and cravings. I just am choosing those two specifically. The faster you get back to those and you reintroduce those foods, hopefully that can help keep your cravings low. I'm not saying don't cheat and don't enjoy meals post show, but kind of try and keep those to a minimum and stick with foods that are going to help like satisfy your caloric and macronutrient needs. But we can also take a look at elevated cortisol being a reason for why you want to binge and cheat on your diet. And in situations like that, even though I don't think that they are kind of end all be all, I think that there are some supplements and some adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha and rhodiola rosea or rhodiola rosea. I'm not 100% sure how you pronounce it. Those two specifically have a lot of literature, like scientific literature behind them, as well as anecdotal experience that supplementing with those specifically can help fight binge eating and keeping your cortisol levels intact. So those are things that you can incorporate if you want. About 600 milligrams of ashwagandha and anywhere from 250 to 500 milligrams of rhodiola should be able to help keep your cortisol in a levels that's going to help you prevent binge eating if you were to eat those trigger foods. All right. Hopefully you guys like that video. If you guys have any comments or questions, go ahead and leave them in the description. Coaching email is in the description as well as my Instagram. Take it easy, guys.